How can I raise a child now after all this time?
My husband then served me with divorce papers. 18 years passed since then, in the blink of an eye. I had come to the university hospital for an examination, and my ex-husband, whom I met again by chance, made fun of me.
It's too sad for a single lady to be admitted to the hospital. Besides, your daughter is probably jobless anyway.
Then my daughter showed up. Oh, this guy. You really look like you have a bad personality. My name is Jennifer. I'm a 45-year-old office worker. My father died of illness when I was very young, and I grew up in a single-parent home with my mother. My mother worked hard as an office worker to support us, and I wanted to repay her by studying hard. I got to know that I could get a scholarship if my grades were good enough. I studied hard and went on to high school and college while receiving scholarships. My mother said, "Jennifer's hard work has reduced my workload tremendously and has helped me a lot." I was happy to hear that. I wanted to repay her for raising me, so I worked hard at job hunting and got a job at a big company. I worked hard and took my mother on trips and to fancy restaurants. While making many memories with my mother, I put even more effort into my work. I wanted to do more and more to show my filial piety. I spent my time thinking this way, and before I knew it, I was over 30 years old. People around me were getting married, having children, and having families of their own. But I remained single, probably because I was too devoted to my work. I wish someone good would come along for Jennifer. I was flabbergasted when my mother said that. Of course, I had always tried my best to be filial to my mother. But filial piety also includes reassuring my mother. That means getting married and showing her the faces of her grandchildren. I was already 33 years old at the time, so it was time for me to find a partner. In this way, I suddenly became impatient and started to look for love. Then, a friend invited me on a blind date, and that is when I met Nico, who would later become my husband. Nico was 4 years younger than me, and 29 years old at the time. He was an office worker, and gave me the impression that he was a fresh, good-looking man. He talked to me actively, and he wanted to exchange contact information with me. I was older than him, and there were younger and prettier girls, so I wondered why he wanted to chat with me. But I thought it would be better to have many opportunities for romance in order to get married, so we exchanged contact information. Soon after, he asked me out on a date. With half a doubt in my mind, I agreed to the date, and we went out to have fun. Indeed, he was very kind and a gentleman. When I asked him why he asked me out on a date, he shyly told me that he prefers older women.
And I thought Jennifer must be a nice person, because you're a kind person who works hard at your job, and you're also nice to your mother.
It made me happy to hear him compliment me that way, and I was attracted to him. Not long after that, we started dating, and we got married 2 years later. My mother was very happy to hear that I was getting married, and she cried when she saw me as a bride at the wedding. I was happy that I could do one more thing for my filial piety. I was also happy that I could marry the man I loved so much. I think I experienced the greatest happiness in my life. From then on, my husband and I lived a happy newlywed life. We both wanted to have children, and because of my age, we tried really hard. However, we were unable to have children as we had hoped. 3 years passed quickly without a child. I was already 38 years old, and it might be my last chance to have a child. While I was thinking about this, my mother passed away before I could get pregnant. My mother had been getting sicker and sicker for a while, and had been visiting the hospital. But somewhere along the way, I thought she was still going to be okay. Then she suddenly passed away, and I couldn't catch up with my emotions. I had grown up in a single-parent household, so my mother was a very important person in my life. Thanks to my mother, I had been able to live happily until now. I was saddened by the loss of my beloved mother. I wanted to show her the face of her grandchild. I was also sad that I could not achieve the dream. My husband gently took care of me, encouraging me and waiting for me to get better. I was always emotionally unstable at that time, so I think I was causing him a lot of trouble. Over the next year or two, I gradually recovered mentally. In the meantime, I was still trying to get pregnant, but I still couldn't have children. Then, I decided to give up since I was already 40 years old, and my husband and I decided to live as a couple. After that, I spent my days working and spending my daily life with my husband. Although the days continue to be the same as before, I still enjoy the happiness of having a partner. I did not doubt that we would continue to live to old age together. But then, my life suddenly changed abruptly.
It seems you are pregnant. Congratulations.
At the hospital where I visited, because I had been feeling unwell, I was unexpectedly told that I was pregnant. I was so surprised that I asked the doctor several times, "Are you sure?" I was 45 years old at the time.
It's true. I'm sure of it.
The doctor said with a smile. I never thought I could get pregnant at my age. I went home, still in disbelief. I told my husband when he came home from work that I was pregnant. Don't be surprised to hear that.
Why are you grinning like that?
I'm pregnant. My husband looked very surprised. No wonder. Even I was really surprised. But his surprise did not lead to joy like mine.
Why would you get pregnant? Didn't you say that we were going to live alone as a couple?
Well, yes, but that was only because I had given up on getting pregnant.
You didn't use contraception, did you?
Of course I didn't. Why go to the trouble paying for pills?
Seriously?
I was puzzled by my husband's reaction. You weren't wearing a contraceptive either.
I thought you were on birth control because you said you weren't going to have any more children.
No. Aren't you happy? I just got pregnant with your child.
I can't raise a child now after all this time, and a baby born from an old woman would become only stupid. I thought I could hold out a little longer, but it's time to move on.
That's when my husband thrust divorce papers in my face. Wait, what does this mean? Why are divorce papers in the drawer?
I've been thinking about divorcing you for a long time, because you're not worth anything as a woman anymore. And if you tell me you are having a baby, it's going to be a real pain in the ass. You are going to have morning sickness, and you're going to neglect your housework. And if you have a baby, I will be woken up crying at night, and all sorts of other troublesome things. There is no need for that now. In the first place, I was only with you because I didn't have anything bothersome.
What do you mean?
First of all, you don't have a father. When you got married, meeting the other person's father is the most tiring part. If it's only the mother, you're not that nervous, but you don't want to meet the father if possible. It's a good thing you're from a single mother family, because I could get married without that kind of hassle. The other thing is that you work for a good company. I was grateful that you were making good money and that I could afford to be extravagant. But I'm getting tired of it, and I'm leaving you. You need to pack your bags and leave as soon as possible.
Whatever that is, it's just too much. My husband, who I thought was a kind and good man, is the worst person I've ever met. Fine, let's get a divorce. My love for my husband has cooled off in a flash. I could never raise a child with such a man. I immediately signed the divorce papers.
I won't pay child support.
My husband said with a pointed look on his face. He is a selfish person to the end of the line. Okay, but no property division then.
I don't need that. I'm making a good living on my own.
My husband said with a triumphant look on his face. I didn't want to receive child support from such a lousy man, and I didn't want to give him the money I had earned. I was more than happy to accept his terms. I quickly packed my bags and left the house. Then I went to a real estate agent and rented an apartment near my office. Since I lived within walking distance of the office, I was able to work until just before the birth without putting too much strain on my body by commuting. Then I went on maternity leave and gave birth without incident. The baby was a healthy girl. She was so cute that I thought she was an angel, and I made up my mind to protect and take good care of her for the rest of my life. I worked hard to support our life together, including using a daycare center, and gave my daughter a lot of love. Even though I was raised by a single mother, I was very happy. So I was sure that I could make my daughter happy too. I never doubted that. I worked hard as a single mother to protect my life with my daughter. 18 years passed in the blink of an eye. My daughter has grown up to be a very nice girl. She is now a senior in high school and has already been recommended for college. She is very bright and can study better than I can, so I'm looking forward to her future. Then one day, I met someone I never thought I would meet again. It was when I came to the university hospital for a physical examination.
Huh? No way, Jennifer?
A man passed me in the hallway of the hospital, and when I looked over, I saw my ex-husband, Nico. My ex-husband is grinning when he sees me in my hospital gown.
You're sick. It's so tragic.
I had come to the university hospital for a checkup, and my ex-husband, who happened to see me again, made fun of me thinking I'm admitted to the hospital.
So sad to see your single old lady in the hospital.
I was so disgusted by my ex-husband continuing to behave so terribly. I'm just here for a checkup.
Oh yeah, well whatever. I'm sure I'm happier than you are now. I got remarried right after our divorce to a beautiful woman, 15 years younger than me. We have a child now, and we have a happy family. When I go to my son's class, people are always talking about how beautiful his mother is. As for husband, I'm so proud. Our son is a senior in high school, and it's time to take the college entrance exam, and I'm sure he will get into a good college.
I see. My ex-husband is bragging about himself even though I didn't ask him.
It's a good thing I left you. If I had stayed married to you, I would have been like, who is that old lady? And your daughter is jobless anyway. Kids born at an old age are probably not smart enough.
Unbelievable. I can allow you to make fun of me, but I can't allow you to make fun of my daughter. I clenched my fist and tried to talk back. Just then, my daughter appeared. Mom, are you almost done with your checkup? Jane, have you finished your errands yet? Yeah, I went to the bookstore and found it right away. Oh, who is this guy? This man is my ex-husband. My ex-husband is grinning and looking at my daughter. Oh, this is the guy. He really looks like he has a bad character. My daughter said so and looked at my ex-husband with cold eyes. My ex-husband suddenly heard such a thing, and his face turned red and he got angry.
You're a cocky little brat. I can tell you haven't had a proper education. You didn't even go to high school anyway. You are probably just jobless.
My ex-husband said with a raised voice. Mom, what is he talking about? My daughter was completely unfazed when my husband yelled at her. I go to XX high school, and I already have a recommendation at an Ivy League college. My ex-husband was momentarily upset by my daughter's statement.
XX High School. That's an ultra preparatory school, isn't it?
But he immediately made a mocking face at us.
You think you can fool me with a lie like that? Why don't you tell a more decent lie?
I'm not lying. I even have my student ID card. She showed my ex-husband her own student ID. It says XX High School on it.
No way.
My ex-husband was shocked to learn that my daughter was very bright. In the midst of all this, my daughter asked my ex-husband, I heard you talking, but your son is a senior in high school and the same age as me, right?
Yes, but so what?
My ex-husband replied with a look of frustration on his face. That's funny, because I was born at the end of August. I heard that you left my mother when she became pregnant with me. Then you remarried right after that. And even if you had a child right away, no matter how you calculate the timing, your son would be one grade below me.
So what do you want to say? You're really stupid after all. I have no idea what you're trying to say. I think that student ID is also fake. My ex-husband cursed my daughter without hearing her out. But my daughter just laughed and said, You're the stupid one, she retorted. What the hell? You are insulting an adult?
My ex-husband raised his voice, to which the daughter replied, What I'm trying to say is that you were having relations with your current wife before you left my mother. My ex-husband got upset by that statement.
What are you talking about? I married my wife and had kids with her after we properly separated. If you make any funny accusations, I will sue you for defamation of character.
Sue yourself. If you don't understand what I just explained to you, then that's enough.
What the hell does that mean?
My ex-husband asked me, looking mortified. I immediately understand what Jane was saying, so I explained it to him again. Even if your current wife got pregnant after you left me and had a child, your son would never be in the same grade as my daughter. That would prove that you had a relationship with your current wife before you left me. After explaining it to him like that, my ex-husband finally seemed to understand. I had no idea you were having an affair. That really sucks. But my ex-husband quickly talked back.
So what's the point? We have been divorced for 18 years. It's probably your statute of limitations by now.
My daughter retorted to my ex-husband, I'm sorry, but it's not the statute of limitations yet. My mother had no idea about the affair, and in that case, she can file for alimony for 20 years after the divorce.
What is that bullshit?
It's not bullshit.
How could your little high school girl know that?
I'm planning to become a lawyer in the future. So I'm studying for the bar exam now since I got a recommendation to get into the university.
Oh no.
Then I'm going to charge you and your wife alimony.
Wait, even if you do that, I can't afford it.
I don't care.
Even now, I'm still going to the hospital and paying for the treatment.
My ex-husband had a bag of pills in his hand. Oh, those are diabetes pills, aren't they? You must be leading a very unhealthy life, I said, and he hid the pills behind his back. Anyway, I will never forgive you for insulting my daughter as well as me. I will send a content certified letter to your workplace or even your house and demand alimony.
Oh no.
Jane, let's leave someone like this behind. Yep. My daughter and I left the scene with my ex-husband, crumpled to his knees. I then sent a content certified letter to my ex-husband's workplace as I had declared. As a result, it became known within the company that my ex-husband's current wife was an adulteress and that he dumped his former wife, me, the moment I became pregnant. My ex-husband is now being looked at coldly by the people in the company, and he's feeling lost at his workplace. And I also found out about his home and sent a content certified letter to his current wife, which led to an interesting thing happening. His current wife asked him what she should do because she got a content certified letter. My ex-husband thought it was me who sent it, but as they talked, he found out that she was talking about the wife of her adulterer because she was currently having an affair with a married man. This, they said, had brought the relationship between my ex-husband and his wife to a crushing halt, and the family was in a bad state. However, my ex-husband is owed alimony by me, and his wife is owed alimony by me as well as the wife of the other man with whom she is currently having an affair. So they are not divorced and are working together to pay off their debts. Furthermore, a mutual friend told me that their child had been expelled from school right after entering high school for getting in trouble, and now he is jobless and just staying at home. I was so disgusted that it was my ex-husband who was the one lying and trying to look good. On the other hand, I'm spending happy days with my daughter, traveling, and getting along well with her. I worked pretty hard when I was young and have enough savings to have no trouble in my old age. So I think I will take early retirement when my daughter goes to college. Her ex-husband was an amazing scumbag. I think Jennifer was right to leave such a lousy man. And I was surprised that Jennifer's daughter is very talented. She's going to be a great lawyer in the future, isn't she? At any rate, I'm so happy that Jennifer is happy now and her ex-husband fell. William has fallen ill and needs daily care. You should help us. My mother-in-law screamed that way on the phone.
Let's let bygones be bygones and help them.
Huh? My husband said such a thing to me. Have you forgotten how much I suffered from being bullied by your mother? I can't do it with you anymore. My name is Mary. I'm a 39-year-old office worker. I have been married to my husband Robin for 8 years. We live happily with our 5-year-old son, Jake, and our family of 3. But it hasn't been smooth sailing since we got married. It was when Robin and I had just gotten married.
Mom and Dad want us to come over. When should we go?
Anytime is fine.
Then let's go this coming 3-day weekend.
With that being said, my husband and I headed to my parents-in-law's house. Robin, I'm so glad you came. My mother-in-law greeted us, looking pleased. William, it's been a while.
Mary, hi. I haven't seen you since the wedding.
Yeah, indeed.
Mary, would you like to help me?
Yeah, of course. I rushed to the kitchen when my mother-in-law called me. I had intended to help her right away, but I was late because I had to greet my father-in-law. Then, my mother-in-law said,
You are a little late. Normally, you should come before your mother-in-law calls you.
She accused me of being late. I'm sorry.
You have made a bad impression on me from the very first time.
My mother-in-law stared at me with a scary face. She didn't look like that when she greeted me at the wedding. She seemed so kind. Even though I went there after my mother-in-law called me, I was late because I was greeting my father-in-law. I'm sure my mother-in-law saw that too. I felt bad and prepared tea and tea cakes and took them to the dining room. Then, the 4 of us talked, but my mother-in-law spoke to me in a spiky way.
When is Mary going to quit her job?
I don't plan to quit at this point.
You have no intention of quitting. That's strange.
Huh? The in-laws suddenly became stern.
If you're a wife, you should go into the home and support your husband.
That's right. You didn't do your duty as a wife at all before. You can't move quickly at a time like this because you have a job and have pride as a businesswoman. You can't have it both ways, so don't do it. And Robin, you need to raise your wife.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was upset that my husband didn't talk back to my in-laws. A husband would normally protect his wife. Then my in-laws made another surprising statement.
Stay at our home for 3 days starting today.
Yes, that's a good idea. We will train you.
I looked at my husband. I appealed with my eyes, thinking of course he would say no. But my husband only looked at me with an awkward, bitter smile.
Well then, let's get on with cleaning the house.
I didn't say anything about staying over yet. When I said that, my in-laws glared at me.
You don't have the right to refuse.
What kind of uneducated people raise such an insane person?
I was angry at my in-laws for talking to me like that. You don't have to talk to me like that.
Mary, don't do that.
Robin, you should normally speak up for your wife. When I said that, my husband fell silent. But then, my in-laws interrupted again.
What a daughter-in-law. It seems she really needs some education.
I wonder how freely and selfishly she was raised.
Please stop it. That's enough. My parents raised me with proper discipline. They don't deny someone and force their ideas on them. Your statements are much more insane and selfish.
What did you say?
You are so cocky.
The next moment, my mother-in-law poured cold tea on me.
Mary, are you okay?
What are you doing?
You look like you're getting boiled up, so I'm cooling you down.
That's too much. I'm going home.
Wait! I told you to go do your chores.
I won't. I grabbed my bag and headed for the door.
Mary, you don't need to leave.
Whose side are you on?
Of course yours.
Are you sure?
Of course I'm sure. So let's go back to the living room. My mom and dad will forgive you if you apologize now.
The moment my husband said that, I left my in-laws' house and started the car. There was no way my husband could have said that. If he was on my side, he would rather have my in-laws apologize to me. When I arrived home that day, I received a lot of calls and messages from my husband.
Please come back. What was wrong with my words?
Sighing at my husband, who sent many such messages, I called him.
Mary, you finally called back. Why did you leave?
You are fundamentally wrong. If you were on my side, you wouldn't have asked me to apologize to your parents. I will never see your parents again. If you want to stay married to me, you need to make sure that I don't have to deal with your parents at all.
No way.
If you can promise me that, then don't come home. This is the apartment I've been renting for a long time. When I said that, he climbed up. That's how I feel. With that, I hung up the phone. The next day, he came home. He told me I didn't have to see my in-laws anymore.
No matter what my mom and dad do to you, I would protect Mary.
I decided to trust my husband for the time being. He really kept me away from my in-laws. This allowed me to go through my days without stress. According to my husband, my in-laws complained a lot, but he still tried his best to stop them because he did not want to divorce me. My in-laws were going to invite a lot of relatives over for Thanksgiving and New Year's, and they were going to make me do all the food and banquet preparations. My husband, of course, was forced to participate, but his parents complained about it every time. They were talking badly about me to my relatives. I don't intend to meet them anymore, but if it is too bad, I will sue them for defamation of character. 3 years have passed since I separated from my in-laws, and I got pregnant. Naturally, I avoided contact with my in-laws during my pregnancy. In fact, I thought it was a time when I should not meet them at all. Then, on the day of the birth, for some reason, my parents-in-law came to witness the birth. Of course, the nurse refused to let them in. It was my first time giving birth, and when I heard that my in-laws had come, I was instantly less excited. Why are your parents here? I was angry at my husband that I forgot the pain of labor.
No, I didn't tell them that it was close to the due date or anything. But they've been calling me every day. I didn't have time to answer the phone today to take you to the hospital. So maybe they came in anticipating that you were in labor.
I was taken aback by my in-laws' persistence, and I was so distracted by them that the actual birth went by without me feeling any pain or anything. When I picked up my newborn baby, he was really cute and angelic. My husband was also holding him up happily. In the hospital room, my parents were also there, and we were having a friendly conversation while holding up my child. But then, my parents-in-law came in.
Why can't we hold the child first?
Where are the wife's parents holding the child first?
My parents-in-law shouted at me in the hospital room. I was stunned by their unreasonableness as usual. My parents were also surprised, and my in-laws said,
Well, that's a cute baby.
They picked up the baby roughly with a noisy voice. Then the baby cried out loudly.
Why does he cry when I hold him?
Then let me hold the baby.
William roughly picked up the baby from Grace, but he cried again, and my father-in-law looked frustrated, handed the baby to my husband.
I knew he was a brat, just like the mother who gave birth to him.
I will have to teach him a lesson.
That's why my parents-in-law said. I couldn't believe them saying such unreasonable things when my parents were also here. I was emotional because I had just given birth. It's none of your business. I mean, I told you I'd cut off ties with you. Don't come here without my permission, you piece of shit. Get the hell out of here. When I shouted that, my in-laws froze in shock. Get the hell out of here. As I kept saying that without stopping, my husband felt that it was indeed a bad idea and took my parents-in-law out of the hospital room. My parents were surprised that I was so furious.
You said it well. That was cool.
But they praised me. About an hour later, my husband returned looking very tired. Apparently, my in-laws had taken out all their frustrations about me on my husband. I was grateful to my husband for stopping them, but I don't want to see them again for the rest of my life. I don't even want my son to see them. I have since then, of course, stopped seeing my in-laws, and I made sure that they never saw Jake either when he was with me, but I allowed my husband to take Jake with him. Of course, even at New Year's and other gatherings, I made it a priority to take my son to my parents' house. 5 years passed in the blink of an eye as we spent our time in this way. Then one day, my husband asked me,
I heard that my dad has fallen ill.
Oh, so?
He wants to move in with us because he needs care.
I'm worried about your father's illness, but I can't live with him.
No, why?
I immediately said no, but my husband wasn't going to back down this time.
Mom and Dad are in real trouble. I'm going to call Mom now so we can discuss it properly, okay?
And then, my husband started calling my mother-in-law out of the blue. Hey, hey, hey! My husband is talking to my mother-in-law about something. Then he puts the phone on speaker.
Mary, it's been a while. I know you heard from Robin, but could you do me a favor?
Grace, don't you remember how you and William have been behaving?
William has fallen ill and needs care. You should help us.
My mother-in-law yells that way on the phone. I still can't get through to her.
Let's let bygones be bygones and help them.
My husband said such things to me. Have you forgotten how much I suffered from being bullied?
Yes, I remember that. But don't people usually try to help when they hear that the husband's father has fallen ill?
No. If he is in such need of care, she should leave it to professionals.
No, but money and stuff like that.
Is your father in such a bad state? When and how did he get sick? Where does he go to the hospital? The more he slurred, the more I began to think something was fishy. My mother-in-law was still on the phone.
Just cooperate with me.
She's screaming.
Sorry, Mom. I will call you back.
He said and hung up the phone. And he looked at me awkwardly. Can you give me a proper explanation of your father-in-law's illness? Also, maybe your father didn't collapse at all.
No, my father is sick.
Tell me about the hospital your father goes to.
Well, you'd better think about that anyway.
He went to his room. I peeked into his room, trying not to get cold. He seemed to be on the phone with his mother again.
No, I knew Mary wouldn't be easy to persuade. She doesn't seem to be inclined to change her mind by just lying about Dad's illness. Don't worry, she won't divorce me. I think she will give up once she lives with all of us.
After my husband said that, I heard my mother-in-law's voice. Even from here, I can clearly hear my mother-in-law's high-pitched voice.
Jake is being well raised by us. Now, all we have to do is get Jake on our side and get that wife over here. Then we can make her our slave and have her do all the housework. And of course, let her keep her job and spend all the money she earns on us.
I know. I'm just getting sick and tired of my small allowance.
As soon as my husband said that, something snapped inside me, and I went straight into my husband's room. What are you doing?
Why are you here, Mary?
Because you were suspicious. But more than that, I knew you weren't on my side. I guess you lied to me about William collapsing. I can't do this with you anymore. Let's get a divorce.
Divorce? Why so suddenly?
I heard what you said on the phone earlier. If you and your mother are going to try to enslave me, we can't stay married. I know you've done your best in the past to keep me in between the boards, but you've still let me down many times, and I'm not going to let you get away with it this time. I will definitely divorce you no matter what.
Oh no.
My husband's face turns pale. My mother-in-law is still on the phone.
Hey, Robin, what's going on?
I hear her voice. I take my husband's phone from him. I'm divorcing Robin. I said just that and hung up the phone. And I immediately started packing my bags. My husband tried to stop me, but I ignored him and packed my bags. I had my son's luggage packed and ready to go too. My husband kept saying something like,
Wait a minute.
and
Let's talk about it.
but I didn't even want to have a conversation anymore. I just told him, let's communicate the rest through our lawyer, and got into the car with my son. Then, I went back to my parents' house. My parents were upset when they heard what happened. A few hours later, my in-laws and husband came to my parents' house.
What are you doing? You can't just ask for a divorce out of the blue.
It's beyond insane.
My in-laws saying that way. At that moment, my father stood in front of them.
You guys are getting carried away just because we've kept quiet until now. It's you who are insane. You are making my daughter your slave? If you had a daughter, how would you feel if they told you that when you visited her? Let me give you a better analogy. How would you feel if your son Robin was being harassed by his boss on a daily basis at work? You would absolutely hate that. That's what you're trying to do to my daughter. And you're the insane ones. If you don't understand this explanation, you're really stupid.
When my father snapped like that, my in-laws instantly quieted down. They were a bunch of dim-witted, unimaginative people. So when he finally explained it to them in a way they could understand, they seemed to realize how insane they were. But it was already too late. I had already given up on my husband. I confronted him with the divorce papers I had prepared on the way to my parents' house. He was surprised, but he must have realized that it can no longer be helped. He meekly signed the papers on the spot. However, my husband, who was a who, said something outrageous afterward.
Actually, my mom and dad fell in the stock market and got into debt. I no longer can avoid a divorce, but would you help us pay off that debt?
I was quite taken aback by my husband saying such a thing. Are you really that stupid? It seems you're the worst one. We are strangers now, so why should I pay someone else's parents' debt? You have to pay me child support after you leave me. I'm the one who gets money from you.
Oh no!
I was at a loss for words as my husband's face turned blue. I'm done talking to you. If you don't want me to call the police, then get the hell out of my house. My ex-in-laws and ex-husband left the house with pale faces. After that, I successfully got a divorce. I also asked for child support, and it is supposed to transfer money to me monthly. My ex-husband has returned to his parents' house and is exhausted from paying child support and paying off his parents' debts. But he deserves it. If he had just taken care of me instead of his parents, none of this would have happened. I pity my ex-husband, but now I'm happily living at home with my son and parents. My son didn't seem to be attached to my parents-in-law at all, because he just thought they were old people who gave him sweets a lot but had bad karma. I was relieved to see that even at his age, he's able to distinguish between people. I will continue to do my best as a single mother, and will take good care of my son. The in-laws are really rude and have bad characters, and your husband was also a terrible person. I'm glad that Mary has cut ties with them. I hope you and your sweet son and your parents are happy together from now on.